Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for attending. I'm hoping we're going to have a few more of these seats filling up in a minute, but we're going to start. My name's Jacqui Smith. We're going to be talking about sustainability in the care setting today, and it's a big topic, but I'm really excited about the panel we've got here because I want everyone to go away today feeling there's something they can do, because I think it's a massive issue, massive topic. Everyone knows they need to do something, and now apparently CQC are going to be inspecting on it and really looking at operators and asking what they're doing to demonstrate they've considered their impact as far as stakeholders, local community, and also very much people living in the homes concerned. So that's something I think is just going to get ever more important. So my name is Jacqui Smith, as I said. I'm an interior designer working in healthcare and retirement living. I've worked in that space for about 15 years. I specialise in dementia design and creating spaces that are supportive for people as they age. I'm going to let the panel introduce themselves now. Claire?
Thank you, Jacqui. My name's Clare Cameron. I'm an architect and I'm a director in the later living team at PRP Architects. PRP are a big firm of architects, typically designing housing, but there's a team of 30 or 40 of us dedicated to designing housing and care homes for later living and care. And we've got a sustainability team as well that help us with issues around energy and sustainability. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you, Claire. Robert?
Hi, I'm Robert Walton. I run a company called Lyndhurst Group. My background is I was a farmer. My specialism is pig farming, so if you want to talk about that, that's got a lot of relevance to the topic. But we do focus on eco-friendly, sustainable products as well, looking to try and find solutions to problems within interiors market. So hopefully working very closely with these good people.
Jeremy?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jeremy Carter. I'm the director of Carter Energy Consultancy. I've been in the industry for 20 years. Essentially, I'm an energy auditor. In simple terms, that means I go into all manner of buildings and I make energy-saving recommendations and find energy-saving solutions. I've worked with a handful of care homes and I've always managed to find good energy savings. Thank you, Jacqui.
Aaron?
Thank you. My name's Aaron White. I'm from a company called Oakland Clare. I head up everything to do with sustainability at the company, from carbon accounting right through to the softer stuff like volunteering and biodiversity initiatives. And at Oakland Care, it's been a big focus for us for the last 4 years or so. We've been carbon neutral for 4 years now, and we've got a few kind of awards and things to match as well, which is not a boast, but it just shows that it's a real big focus for us and part of our culture. So I'm here kind of representing the operational side, the post-commissioning side, and what we can do.
I think that's an amazing achievement as well, and I know you say it's not a boast, but at least it gives everyone an idea of what can be done, because often it's just assumed that things are way too big for any of us to tackle. Right, so the first question I'm going to give to Claire. Why is sustainability so important in the design and operation of care homes?
Thank you. It's feedback here. It's so important because the energy use intensification, or intensity, the EUI, what we call, is really high for care homes. In fact, at least twice as high as typical housing, some say a little bit more. And that's because of the nature of care homes, the 24/7 operation. The fact that the residents are so frail means that the thermal comfort is so important. The British Standard tables have it right at the top, so they recommend a fluctuation in temperature of just 2 degrees. So the use of water for heating and power for lighting is really high.
Yeah.
And obviously we're wanting to do all we can to reduce the carbon use, but also there's so much we can do in terms of passive design at the point of commissioning the building and designing it.
Yeah.
We can talk a little bit more about that, and as architects we've got lots of ideas. You can learn a lot from Europe as well. Orientation, thermal mass, the size of the windows. We want to benefit from solar gain in the winter, but we've got to control that to avoid overheating in the summer. So the use of shades and awning and blinds, even ceiling fans that can be powered by PVs. We need to be doing more of that, and it quite often gets cut out at the point of design because of capital cost. But if we're looking at the life cycle of the building and the operational costs, perhaps it's a conversation that we should be having more of.
Yeah.
I can talk a little bit more about passive design features later.
Yeah, definitely. Aaron, do you want to follow on from that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that the the design and the kind of the calculation at that stage of the build is so vital for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I mean, we design, build, and then run our own homes, so we've got some control over the whole process. Having said that, the design and those kind of decisions made and the energy calculations and all of those things are often done probably 2 years before the home is actually commissioned and actually opens and is inherited to operate. And in those 2 years, technology has moved on massively, or the focus on sustainability has moved on massively, and suddenly we find that, you know, we thought we had a modern home, but it's 2 years old, and that's a big deal these days. So for kind of designers and engineers, you know, running those calculations, to think as ahead as possible, because it's going to be a couple of years before the operators have to do that. And if that hasn't been considered fully, then the operator is left with trying to retrofit systems, which is what we're trying to do now in some of our older homes. We're lucky our oldest home is only 10 years old. It's not really old. But we are trying to retrofit systems and bring it back up to spec when of course, you know, if we can make those decisions now ready for our next homes, even better.
Yeah. I'm sure, Jeremy, you've got something to add on why it's so important.
Well, it's a frustration of mine is when a building is constructed and opened, and we mentioned this earlier, certainly in other sectors, it's about, has it been delivered on time, on budget? Question I ask is, does it work as it should do? And often the focus is more towards on time and budget and less on operating as it's been designed to.
Yeah, definitely. And I know, Robert, you and I have spoken about this before, and every time we look at this question, Robert always says to me, what about well-being? So
Yeah, that's the thing that I think is a big issue as well. It's not just about the building itself and what we're doing for the planet with regards to the building. It's the occupants of the building. It's also the staff working in the building, because you've got the people who are living in there. It's their daily space, and you've got to provide an environment that is right for them, to make them feel good and make them have a longer life than they've already had. But you've also got to look after the staff and make sure that the environment is right for them. And if we don't look at that element of it, you're not going to get staff retention, you're not going to get staff working well, and you're not going to have a happy workforce. A happy workforce, hopefully, will have happy residents. So that, to me, is a different element of sustainability. It's sustainability in the whole.
Incredibly important.
Yeah,
definitely. Okay, I'm going to come to you first, Aaron, on this question. So how can operators best demonstrate they're working towards reducing their carbon footprint?
I mean, thank you. That's a huge question. But most people find they don't really know where to start, and I would say the very first starting point. Most people are more comfortable with starting on paper, starting by writing something down, making a plan, and then enacting that plan. So if you're going to go down that road, do a very simple policy. I'm talking one page. You know, you might not be experts on sustainability. You might not have anyone in your company that you think really knows what they're talking about, but you've got to have a go, and you've got to get a page down as to what you think your kind of key targets are going to be, or the key things that you want to address. That's a great place to start. We also all want perfect data before we make any decision on anything. And we're still struggling now with getting perfect data on our utility use and our carbon reduction and all of those things. So if you are focused on carbon reduction with a big scary net zero target in your mind, but you don't know how to start or where to get there, then look at the data that you have got, even if it's very simple utility bill readings and values, and at least get something down and get a benchmark that you can then put some initiatives in place against. But, you know, start absolutely very small and make the smallest changes you can to start developing a culture and developing some kind of momentum, and celebrate that as well. So, yeah, it's often difficult to know where to start. Start small. Don't be scared to start small. Just start.
Yeah, we were talking about this when we did our prep call for this session. We were talking about exactly that, you know, don't be frozen by the fact that it's so big. You know, something is better than nothing.
I mean, I'm sorry, just to finish that, a 4-year journey so far of sustainability. It was year 2 before we even wrote a proper policy about it. It was year 3 before we wrote our environmental management system. And only last month did we release our fully glossy document about our strategy for the next 10 years. But we needed to have that momentum built up with the small steps first to be able to do that effectively.
And often, just to add, the most difficult thing in life on anything you do is making a start.
Exactly.
Because you put it off and put it off and put it off.
Yeah.
But once you've actually made a start, very good point about starting small. You've got something to build on.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I know that, I mean, I can procrastinate dreadfully on all sorts of things because I'm a perfectionist. So, but, you know, you can't be like that here. So, okay. So, Okay, in order to deliver a sustainable strategy, how do we best build and maintain engagement with those working within the care homes? Aaron, I'm going to start with you again because you're the operator, and I know you've got some great stories here.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, building engagement, I suppose, has been our success. So again, with the small quick wins, and just massively celebrate them. Just go over the top about them. The very first thing we did, our whole sustainability strategy and everything we've got now, is we thought, well, what should we do? We grabbed an old black bucket, wrote batteries on the side and stuck it in the corner of the office, and then, hey, battery recycling, everyone. Yeah, very small. You're probably all thinking, that's not going to get me to net zero. That's not even going to affect my carbon graph at all. But it's something that we did there that day that we could then put on a Telegram chat with a little photo. Hey, guys, we're doing this, and we're doing this because we want to try and be more green. Celebrate the small successes, then people see that making changes is actually, it can be easy. So I was like, I've got ideas like that. As a bucket, I can think of 10 things like that, and they're not scared to come to you with those ideas. And then make sure you actually shift them around and enact them. Don't say, thanks for that, I'm going to put it in this 10-year plan I'm going to spend 6 months writing, and they think it's just gone into a black hole of kind of corporate nonsense. Yep. Actually turn things around and do them, and then you will build momentum very quickly. You'll find people in your organisation that are passionate about it, and then they can push you on the journey.
And you and I were talking about engagement at handover. So when I do fit outs, we finish the scheme, hand over to the client, and it's the big ta-da! And inevitably, I've got a folder full of cleaning guidelines and all sorts of things that I'm handing over to the team. And I know often that will just sit on the shelf, and it just, and all the design, all the work you put into a scheme, it's then an operational care home, but it's part of the handover, handing over the vision, how you've designed it, how you see the residents enjoying the space, and absolutely all the things that Aaron was talking about. It's just like getting this, we've done this, we've designed it this way, because for this reason, and it's, everyone's then invested in it, and that's really important, isn't it? Claire, did you want to add something now?
Well, just to build on what you're saying, education is a really important feature of what we're all trying to establish. At the point of commissioning the building, we've designed in some really complex systems to manage the building and provide flexibility and future-proofing and sustainability. Yep. But that needs to be handed on to, in care homes in particular, to the staff and the operators. Something like MVHR, mechanical heat and recovery systems, they need to have a summer override switched.
Yes.
Or, if there's a night ventilation grill in the bedroom to provide nighttime cooling, you've got to open it and then you've got to close it, or it's all going to go wrong because you're going to let the heat of the day in. Yeah. So those little things, we go back and we see that they are being missed.
Yes,
And so we all have to get better at writing those operation manuals, and that education piece needs to carry on to new staff in the future as well.
Presumably with the changes in CQC, that will have to be evidenced anyway, won't it? Whilst, it's going to just get more and more, something you'll have to show you're abiding by. Yeah. Robert, you wanted to add something?
I just want to come back to the staff again.
Yeah.
Because it all comes down to the staff, in my view. If the staff aren't on board, you're not going to get anywhere. And quite often, if you look at what the staff do outside of their work life, they'll be very much into something that is eco-friendly, sustainable. They might run a charity of some sort. They might be on a redevelopment program of a green space. And if you can get your care home involved in the local community more with your member of staff, that could bring the whole thing back into the community.
Definitely.
So it could be regenerating a pond to be a natural lifestyle somewhere or other that the member of staff is dealing with. Yeah. And nobody in the home environment knows about it, but bring it in.
Yes.
Get them on board there, and then you can extrapolate it within the home to have little green spaces, and starting small as we did from the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. Jeremy, did you want to add anything to that?
For me, you used the word momentum, which I think is huge. Starting small, yes, communicate what you're going to do, but think about the momentum of your communications. Are you putting a poster up that resonates with your staff so they understand the reason behind?
Yeah, you've got, and the other thing as well to get staff engagement is you've got to make it easier for them. They've got busy jobs. So, if you're doing it and talk about an override switch to be more efficient with energy or whatever, which is going to be, sustainably a big tick, it's going to save you money as a company, whatever. Most staff might not really care about those two things. But if you say, and it's a lot easier for you because you've only got to flick this, or you don't have to press anything because it kicks in at a certain time, then, win-win. If you're going to put anything in place that makes things harder for staff, then, of course, you've got only the really passionate people are going to dive into that. You've got to make things easier as well.
Yeah.
And also that when you're commissioning your energy reduction projects, try and do them in a way that makes improvements for the staff. You'll get a lot more buy-in then.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Robert and I were talking earlier on in the year about sustainability in interiors, and there's a real tension between trying to be sustainable and refurbishing a care home. And typically a care home will refurbish every 5 to 7 years, and so that in itself isn't sustainable. So as a designer, I'm always looking at things I can do to sort of specify more responsibly. But also I'm very aware that I'll see new products and I'll have suppliers coming to me talking about their new eco fabric or so forth. And what can I trust? There's a lot out there, and what do I need to be aware of when I'm specifying? So this is very much a question for Robert.
Thank you, Jacqui. This is the whole topic, and once I get onto it, we've got only 13 minutes left, so you're going to have to shut me up. I get really concerned about this part. Greenwashing. Greenwashing is everywhere, and it's really difficult for you guys and difficult for the interior designers because you're dealing with multiple products. I'm focusing on upholstery fabric, so I can take out the greenwashing, and that's what I'll try and do for the people that I work with. I'm going to come to this topic basically on the back of upholstery fabrics because that's what I know. But when you look at things like plastic bottles, everybody is really into let's have something made out of plastic bottles, which is terrific. We've got to clean plastic bottles up, but actually where have the plastic bottles come from? Believe it or not, there are factories in the Far East who make plastic bottles who then make fabrics.
Which
so
is crazy,
I
think.
It's recycled plastic. That actually doesn't do a lot of good for the environment, really. So we need to work out, is our plastic bottle a post-consumer plastic bottle that you guys have used, you've then recycled, it's gone somewhere to be made into a chip, it's then gone out to be made into the fabric. There is a symbol, Global Recycled Standard, so that's what I would say to the interior designers. Just check that anything that's claiming it's recycled has this Global Recycled Standard, guarantees your chain of custody. Because if you don't, it could be something that actually claims it is, but it isn't. And then there are other things to watch out for. Quite a few people are claiming their products are recycled or they have nice green international standards and they'll meet all sorts of certifications of Indoor Advantage Gold. Well, they might have had them certified before they come to the UK. Then they come to the UK and they find they've got to fire retardant to make them fire retardant to our specs. And then suddenly they're not recyclable and suddenly they're not volatile organic compound free. But a lot of these companies don't bother to tell you that. So it's something you've got to be really careful of.
Yeah,
and you've got to find the suppliers that actually you can sit down and they'll tell you the truth. So just ask the question. And if you can find somebody independent that'll do it for you, do. Big topic, we can carry on. But
I know, it's a massive topic. We talked for a long time about it, didn't we?
Hours.
But Robert gave me some real hope, actually, because, what in terms of what the future holds with specification, there are things going on, and Robert can touch on one of them, can't you?
Well, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a few. In care, it's really difficult. I start off in the commercial office marketplace, and we don't have to worry about vinyls particularly, but you've got to have vinyls. You've got to have things that are impervious. There are moves away from vinyls. We've got one faux leather product now that's made of silicone, which is silica, which is sand, so it starts its life as sand. No petrochemicals. So there's a start on your faux leather. You can have something that isn't from a petrochemical.
And it's lovely. We've specified it on a number of projects, including Kingsley.
And it's VOC free as
and
well,
it's
so
VOC
even better
free.
like that.
Yeah.
And it's borough resistant. I'll carry on. No, I won't. Move on to a different topic. The biggest issue that mostly with soft furnishings is foam, and everybody needs to have foam. Foam has lots of chemicals in it. It has to be fire retardant. There are moves to foam-free furniture, and we're very, 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 very close. So last week we got furniture that's fire retardant to cigarette and match. This week I reckon we'll get furniture that's fire retardant to crib 5 that can go into care homes that will be soft and tactile with no volatile organic compounds, so you have got the well-being aspect being dealt with. You've got no chemicals in it making it fire retardant, and it's soft and comfortable and 100% recyclable end of life. That to me is becoming properly sustainable. So you're dealing with your workforce, you're dealing with the product going in, and you're dealing with the product going out. I'm going to stop there because I'll go on.
No, I'm really excited about the foam. I just think it's going to be a game changer because that's, in terms of, I see so much furniture go into landfill and you just see these lumps of foam and you just think, we've got to find an alternative to that. So exciting.
There's other things we can do as well, just going on it. Well, we're still on fabrics. But it doesn't necessarily mean me. It could be for Edinburgh Weavers over there. It could be anybody. Waterproof fabrics don't have to be the issue when it comes to care homes because you've got the backs of the chairs. So we've been talking about doing small steps. You don't necessarily have to have a waterproof fabric all over your chair. Think of the back of it. Doesn't necessarily have to be a patterned fabric for people, it could be a texture. So why not get an eco-friendly, sustainable fabric that goes on the back of your chair that's got a texture, so your residents can determine which lounge they're in by the texture of it. So it could be sculptured, it could be textured, it could have a different feel to it, so they know which lounge they're in just by the touchy-feelness of it. But it could be made out of something recycled, it could be recyclable, it could be inherently fire retardant, so it's got no chemicals, and end of life, it could be recyclable. So you've recycled all the chair, apart from the bit you sat on, which is your waterproof bit. So there are all sorts of other things.
Oh, it's exciting, exciting. We'll keep chatting, won't we?
We will.
Right, so the time we've got, 9 minutes. Okay, so last question before we come to top tips, which I'm sure you all want. So the last question is about staff, but also about expectations around of residents and relatives as well as staff in terms of policies, green policies. So a question to you, Aaron: are we seeing a real sea change in people, even staff, finding it appealing that you've got a sustainable policy and coming to work for you because of that? And are we also seeing relatives interested, the fact that you're so much more responsible as an operator?
Well, the short answer is yes to all of that. But what's quite interesting is our initial driver for all of our kind of sustainability interest was 4 years ago. We sent out staff surveys like we do every year, and we found there's a lot of comments coming back about, why aren't we doing more in the workplace? You've got to bear in mind, people are doing things at home, and they might be doing a small amount of recycling at home, a small amount of composting at home. They're encouraging their kids to turn lights off, which is 3 light bulbs at home, and they're doing all of this thing and trying hard. Then they come to work and they see 1,000 lights on, and they see food waste this much, and then they think, well, why am I doing these tiny bits at home if you're not bothering in big business?
Yeah.
So of course we found we had to do something. We completely agreed, and this was what started the drive, kind of 4 years ago, and we're seeing it more and more and more now. And another reason why I can prove it's more is because when we asked the group as a whole, hey, who's interested in sustainability? Who wants to join a green committee? Who's got some ideas? We are not short of people putting their hands up. Part of that is we're kind of proud to have the open culture that encourages that, but also, there's a lot of people out there. Nobody thinks it's a bad idea. If you ask people, are you interested or not? Some people are not interested. Some people don't really want to do anything about it, but nobody's going to say, oh, I think it's a bad idea. We shouldn't be more sustainable. So it's not hard to get buy-in in that sense. So yeah, we are seeing more and more. And in fact, a couple of months ago now, it was a very proud moment for us, really. We had 2 people join our company, and they specifically said the reason they joined us was because of our green credentials.
That's so powerful.
Which was really, really nice to hear. So yeah, we are seeing it more and more, especially with our staff. Our relatives and our residents also really enjoy the things that we do, especially some of the softer things. Like some of the biodiversity initiatives we do, some of the wildlife gardens, a lot of the volunteering that we take our residents out to as well. They just think, it's great. Like I say again, nobody thinks it's a bad idea. It's very easy to get that kind of buy-in, and we're being pushed more and more from it. So don't wait for CQC to push you with a set of rules that may or may not, kind of make sense to you. Look at what's going on in the real world and what people are trying to do at home, and we should be doing that in the workplace.
And I love also in biodiversity, you've got an opportunity for residents to get involved, which then provides residents with a sense of purpose as well, which is tackling
win-win.
a whole other thing.
Everything you do with sustainability has got like 3 other wins associated to it. Whether it's because of efficiency and it's a financial win, or whether it's just a great story and it's a PR and it's a marketing win, or whether it's a team engagement and you've lowered your staff retention, increased your staff retention as a result, or the residents have now got something else to go and enjoy. They've got a nature reserve out the back that they can't make it, unfortunately, down the road, but now they can walk in our garden and see the biodiversity there. Everything with sustainability has got at least 2 or 3 other wins, so it's never a hard sell and it's an easy decision to make.
That's brilliant.
I've got something else to add, can I?
I thought you did.
Yeah, I do. I'm just thinking, then going back to people, but it's the residents, members of their family.
Yes.
Because the residents are going in at whatever age they're going in.
Yes.
But the people who generally select the home is not the resident. It's going to be the residents' children, or actually now the residents' grandchildren. And sometimes their great-grandchildren. And it's what facilities are they providing for the relatives to come in? And what do the relatives perceive? So I know my mother's just gone into a care home, but it was my children that actually wanted to make sure the home provided what my mother needed, rather than me. And they wanted to be much greener.
Yeah.
So I think we've got to look at it from that element, that it's not just the people that are going in it, it's who's putting the residents in.
That's so encouraging, isn't it? Really encouraging.
Very good point.
Right, we're going to finish on... Have we got time? The clock,
Something's happened.
Something's happened with the clock. It says we've got 20... How long have we got? Okay, perfect. I've got 5 minutes. So we're now going to finish on top tips. So I'm going to start with Aaron, and one to two, three, however many you think. But things that people can take away today in action that you would say would start them on their journey.
Sure. Well, don't worry if you don't know what you're talking about. Ask people in the organisation who's interested, and just get them together in a room and just share some ideas. That would be one top tip. Another one would be just start small and just start tomorrow, next week. Do something to say that you've started a very small step in the journey, and you'll look back at that fondly, like my black bucket of batteries. You look back at that and see where you are now in a couple of years' time. Don't be frightened to start.
Brilliant. Jeremy?
Well, again, I'm going to hammer home the point of making a start. Think of it as like a strategy. Doesn't have to be complicated. Where are you now? Where would you like to be? How are you going to get there? Ultimately, you probably need to consider having an audit, an energy audit. That will tell you what your energy consumption is, what your carbon footprint is. It will also give you some recommendations of things you can do. And there'll be some simple, cost-effective things you can do very quickly. And on the other end of the scale, there's the boiler upgrades, there's a solar PV array. But again, just to reinforce what you have said, make a start.
Robert, your tips?
Yeah, just look out for greenwashing, because there is. Just don't be afraid of asking questions. And if you can find a friend who understands sustainability, just ask them, because there are people out there who just want to help, and they can provide you with the answers, because you can't be specialists in everything.
I think that's certainly true of interior designers. I learned so much from my reps. I'm not one of these people that expects to know everything, so I've learned, when I started out, I learned so much from just asking the fabric rep about fire retardancy, about the chemicals involved, and it's exactly the same with eco fabrics. So I do, since I've chatted to Robert about it, I'm probably a bit of a thorn in the side of new reps that come in with, look at this new eco fabric, go, hang on, and what does that logo mean? But it's important to ask those questions, and that's how we learn. So great, good tips. Claire?
It's already been touched on, but I think my main takeaway is to understand that passive design for sustainability is intrinsically linked to well-being. So if I just give a couple of examples of that, like double wins. If you design a building with maximum natural light, yes, your lighting bills will be reduced, but also the residents in your buildings will know what time of day it is.
Yeah.
They'll benefit through wayfinding. Our bodily functions are connected to sort of times of the day and the movement of light. So appetite, sleep, bowel movements, anxiety are all connected to natural light. So I would just bring it home to up the natural light at the beginning of the design. And another example is thermal comfort. We know that frail older people need their thermal comfort to be spot on, but think about the staff as well. There's a statistic that for every degree over 25 degrees in the building, productivity drops by 2.6%. So, and staff deserve to be comfortable.
Absolutely.
So design cooler spaces, design gardens, design sort of layers of outside space, covered areas for people to get outside and move. Movement for residents as well, if they're not overheated, is going to help their appetite, it's going to relieve some of their back pain, it's going to, just increase well-being. So I could go on, but designing for sustainability might cost you a little bit of money, might be a bit of aggravation in the first place, but well-being is going to be increased as a result.
Definitely. And I'll just finish on a couple of things that I've started really being more aware of as a designer. So when I'm specifying chair fabrics, I sort of think about, if I'm going to have a contrast piping on that chair, then I will make sure I use that same fabric somewhere else. So I'm thinking of the wastage that I'm seeing with my furniture suppliers. So I'm kind of always trying to be responsible in terms of that. Also, I'm always trying to be responsible with clients in terms of, can we recycle, can we repurpose some of the furniture? So some of the reminiscence rooms we've done recently is Urco furniture that we've got from eBay. And so we're sort of thinking about more sustainable sources for some of our schemes. And then the residents benefit from that as well, because it's a nice, relatable room. There's lots more tips we could go on for, but I think time is running away with us. Do we have any questions? I think we've got a couple of minutes. We can have questions. Anything anyone wants to ask any of our esteemed experts here? Nobody. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for coming, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show.